My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes we assume that when life becomes difficult, Allah is displeased with us. But that is not always the case. In fact, many times the opposite is true. When Allah wants to raise you, He does not always make the road smooth. He strengthens your legs instead. He prepares your heart. He purifies your intentions. And He teaches you lessons that comfort never could. One of the first signs that Allah is leading you higher is when He begins to remove certain people, habits, or comforts from your life. It hurts. You ask yourself, why now? Why me? But Allah sees what you do not see. Some attachments are heavy and you cannot rise while holding on to them. Allah removes what distracts you so He can replace it with what elevates you. What you thought was a loss may actually be divine protection. Another sign is when you are tested beyond what feels comfortable. Your patience is stretched. Your plans collapse. Your heart feels heavy. But remember, Allah does not test to break you. He tests to build you. Gold is purified in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. If Allah is putting you through difficulty, it may be because He knows the strength you don't yet see in yourself. You may also notice that during these moments, your relationship with Allah becomes stronger. You start praying with sincerity, not routine. You raise your hands in dua not because it is a habit, but because you truly need Him. When the world fails you, Allah invites you closer. And closeness to Allah is the greatest elevation a believer can ever achieve. Another sign is that your heart slowly detaches from the dunya. Things that once excited you no longer satisfy you. Fame, wealth, validation, none of it fills the emptiness anymore. Instead, your heart yearns for peace, for meaning, for the hereafter. This is not loss, this is maturity of the soul. Allah is training your heart to seek what is eternal, not temporary. You may also find that silence becomes easier than arguments, patience easier than anger, and forgiveness easier than revenge. This is a powerful sign. It means Allah is refining your character. Elevation in Islam is not about status, it is about character. When Allah wants to raise you, He softens your heart and strengthens your self-control. And finally, there are moments when you feel lost. Yet deep inside, you still trust Allah. You don't understand the plan, but you believe in the planner. You don't see the road, but you trust the guide. That trust itself is a sign of elevation. Because reliance on Allah is not built in ease, it is built in uncertainty. My dear brothers and sisters, not every hardship is a punishment. Not every delay is a rejection. Sometimes Allah is simply leading you higher, closer to Him, stronger in faith, purer in heart. So be patient. Keep going, keep praying, keep trusting. Because when Allah takes something away, it is only to give you something far better, if not in this life, then in the next. And remember, Allah never lowers a servant who sincerely turns to Him. Never. There are times in life when Allah removes people, situations, or comforts that you once felt you could not live without. The pain of that removal can be deep. It can leave you confused, heartbroken, and questioning yourself. You may ask why those you trusted are no longer present, or why the ease you once enjoyed has suddenly disappeared. But one of the greatest misunderstandings we have is believing that everything familiar is meant to stay forever. In reality, when Allah wants to raise you, He often begins by lightening your load. Some people enter your life as blessings, others as lessons. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk with you to the end. Allah in His wisdom knows who is helping your growth and who is quietly holding you back. When certain relationships end, it is not always because you failed. Sometimes it is because Allah is protecting your heart, your faith, and your future. You may not see it immediately, but distance can be mercy. The removal of comfort is especially difficult. When things are going well, when life feels stable, we often forget how dependent we truly are on Allah. Comfort can quietly weaken the heart. It can make us lazy in dua, careless in gratitude, and distracted from our purpose. When Allah takes away that comfort, it is not always punishment. Sometimes it is a wake-up call, a gentle shake to remind the soul where true peace comes from. You might notice that when Allah removes something you loved, your heart breaks open. In that brokenness, you turn to Him with sincerity you may not have had before. Your prayers become real, your tears honest, your reliance genuine. This is not coincidence. Allah removes what distracts you so you can reconnect with Him. And closeness to Allah is worth more than anything He could ever take away. At times, Allah removes people who were never meant to understand your journey. Their presence may have brought noise, confusion, or doubt into your life. When they leave, the silence feels heavy at first. But in that silence, clarity begins to form. You start to hear your own thoughts again. You become more aware of your values, your intentions, and your direction. What once felt like loneliness slowly transforms into peace. There are also moments when Allah removes unhealthy attachments. You may have relied too much on someone's approval, affection, or validation. Allah wants your heart to be free, not dependent on creation. When He removes that attachment, it hurts because the heart resists change. But over time, you realize that your worth was never tied to that person or situation. Allah was teaching you to faith. ND strength within faith, not within people. When comforts are removed, resilience is built. You learn how to survive without what you once thought was necessary. You discover strengths you never knew you had. You learn patience, discipline, and gratitude at a deeper level. These qualities are not developed in ease, they are shaped in struggle. Allah knows the potential within you, even when you doubt yourself. Sometimes what Allah removes is not the thing itself, but the illusion around it. You begin to see people and situations for what they truly are, not what you imagine them to be. This clarity can be painful, but it is also liberating. Living in truth is far better than living in comfort built on illusion. My dear brothers and sisters, when Allah removes people or comforts from your life, do not rush to replace them. Sit with the lesson, reflect, ask Allah what He wants you to learn. Often, what He is preparing to give you requires space. You cannot receive something better while holding tightly to something that has already served its purpose. What you lose may feel like everything, but in reality, Allah is clearing the path for something far greater. It may be peace, it may be strength, it may be closeness to Him. And that is the greatest elevation of all. Trust the removal, trust the process. Because Allah never takes away something unless He intends to give you something better in return, either in this life or the next. There are moments when life pushes you far beyond what feels familiar and comfortable. The ease you once knew disappears, and you find yourself standing in situations you never imagined you would face. Your patience is tested, your strength feels limited, and your heart carries a weight that words cannot fully describe. Yet, these moments are not random, nor are they meaningless. When Allah stretches you beyond your comfort zone, it is often a sign that He is preparing you for a higher place than you have ever been before. Comfort has a way of keeping us small. When everything feels manageable, we rarely discover the true depth of our faith or the full capacity of our resilience. Allah knows this. That is why He allows situations that shake our routine and challenge our assumptions. These tests reveal what lies beneath the surface. They show us how much we truly trust Allah when control slips from our hands. When a test feels heavy, it does not mean Allah has overburdened you. Allah never places a soul under a weight it cannot bear. Even when you feel weak, there is strength within you that Allah sees clearly. Tests are not a measure of your worth, they are a reflection of your potential. If Allah is testing you deeply, it is because He knows you can rise through it, even if you cannot yet see how. Being pushed beyond your comfort zone also forces growth in your relationship with Allah. You begin to seek Him not only in words, but in reliance. You realize that planning alone is not enough. That effort without Tawakkul is incomplete. In moments of pressure, your heart learns to surrender. That surrender is not defeat, it is elevation. A heart that leans on Allah completely is a heart that is being raised in rank. Tests also refine intentions. When life becomes difficult, false motivations fall away. You no longer do things for praise, recognition, or approval. You do them because they are right, because Allah sees, and because your conscience demands sincerity. This purification of intention is one of the greatest gifts hidden within hardship. It transforms ordinary actions into acts of worship. Sometimes the test comes in the form of loss, delay, or repeated failure. You may feel as though you are moving forward only to be pushed back again. But growth is not always visible. Roots grow downward before branches rise upward. Allah may be strengthening your foundation before allowing you to rise. Without that strength, elevation would only lead to collapse. Tests beyond your comfort zone also teach empathy. Pain softens the heart. It allows you to understand the struggles of others in a way comfort never could. You become more patient with people, more forgiving of mistakes, more aware of how fragile the human heart truly is. This softness is not weakness, it is a sign of a heart being shaped by Allah. At times you may wonder why relief feels delayed. You pray, you strive, you remain patient, yet the difficulty lingers. This does not mean your prayers are unheard. Sometimes Allah delays relief because the lesson is still unfolding. Sometimes the delay itself is part of the training. Through it, Allah teaches perseverance, humility, and unwavering trust. Being tested beyond comfort also breaks the illusion of control. You realize that no matter how carefully you plan, outcomes belong to Allah alone. This realization can be unsettling, but it is also freeing. When you accept that control was never truly yours, you learn to focus on effort, sincerity, and faith instead of anxiety and fear. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you find yourself in a place that feels too heavy, too uncertain, or too painful, remember this: you are not there by accident. Allah chose this moment, this test, and this timing with wisdom and mercy. What feels like pressure today may become the reason for your strength tomorrow. Do not measure your progress by comfort. Measure it by growth in patience, reliance, character, and closeness to Allah. Because when Allah takes you beyond your comfort zone, He is not pushing you away. He is calling you higher, shaping you for a level you could never reach while staying the same. There comes a point in a believer's life when the connection with Allah begins to feel different. Salah is no longer just something you perform because it is time to pray. It becomes something you look forward to. Dua is no longer a list of requests recited quickly, but a conversation from the depths of the heart. When this change happens, it is not exide, intal. It is one of the clearest signs that Allah is drawing you closer and leading you higher. Often, this deeper connection is born from difficulty. When life becomes heavy and the world feels unreliable, the heart naturally turns to the one who never fails. You begin to realize that no door opens without His permission, and no heart finds peace without His remembrance. In that realization, your salah gains life. You stand before Allah aware of your weakness and His power, and that awareness transforms prayer into an intimate act of surrender. As your relationship with salah strengthens, you may notice a shift in your priorities. You begin to plan your day around prayer instead of fitting prayer into leftover time. You become more conscious of punctuality, presence, and humility in worship. This is not because you have suddenly become perfect, but because Allah has placed light in your heart. That light makes obedience feel meaningful and neglect feel heavy. Your dua also begins to change in tone. You start asking Allah not only for outcomes, but for guidance, patience, and acceptance. You ask Him to shape your heart before changing your circumstances. This is a sign of maturity in faith. It shows that you trust Allah's wisdom more than your own desires. A servant who reaches this level of dua is being elevated in ways that cannot be measured by worldly standards. At times, you may feel an urge to pray even when there is no crisis pushing you. You find yourself turning to Allah in moments of gratitude, confusion, or quiet reflection. This is a gift. Many people only remember Allah in desperation. But when Allah invites you to remember Him in ease, it is a sign of love and closeness. It means your heart is becoming attached to Him, not just His help. A stronger relationship with salah also brings inner discipline. You become more aware of your actions outside of prayer because you do not want to stand before Allah with a heart burdened by disobedience. This awareness does not come from fear alone, but from respect and love. You guard your tongue, your eyes, and your intentions because you value that connection and do not want to weaken it. Sometimes this closeness comes with tears in prayer. You may not even know why you are crying. The heart simply releases what it has been holding. These tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of sincerity. A heart that softens before Allah is a heart that is alive. Allah draws such hearts nearer because humility is beloved to Him. You may also notice that even unanswered dua no longer shake your faith the way they once did. Instead of frustration, you feel calm acceptance. You trust that Allah heard you and that His response will come in the best form and time. This trust reflects a deep understanding that Allah's wisdom surpasses your limited perspective. As your connection with salah and dua strengthens, you may feel less dependent on external validation. The approval of people, tears less because you have found contentment in pleasing Allah. This inner peace is priceless. It allows you to walk through life with confidence, not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is anchored to something unshakable. My dear brothers and sisters, when you notice your salah becoming more meaningful and your dua more sincere, pause and reflect. Allah is calling you closer. He is raising your rank through connection, not position. Protect this relationship. Nurture it. Because a heart connected to Allah is being guided to heights that the world can never offer. There comes a stage in life when the heart begins to see the world differently. The things that once consumed your thoughts no longer carry the same weight. The race for status, wealth, and recognition starts to feel exhausting rather than exciting. This shift can feel confusing at first, but it is not a loss of ambition. It is the awakening of perspective. When your heart begins to detach from the dunya and turn toward the akhirah, it is a powerful sign that Allah is guiding you higher. This detachment does not mean you stop living your life or fulfilling your responsibilities. Islam never teaches abandonment of the world, but it teaches balance. What changes is where your heart settles. You begin to use the dunya as a means, not an end. Success becomes something you are grateful for, not something you worship. Loss becomes something you endure with patience, not something that destroys you. This balance is a mark of spiritual growth. As the heart turns toward the Akhirah, you may notice that sins feel heavier than before. Actions you once overlooked now disturb your conscience. This is not because you have become worse, but because your awareness has increased. Allah allows the believer to feel the weight of disobedience so they can return to Him quickly. A heart that feels regret is a heart that is alive, and Allah elevates those who repent sincerely. You may also find that remembrance of death becomes more frequent in your thoughts. Not in a fearful or paralyzing way, but in a grounding way. It reminds you that time is limited and that every moment matters. This awareness encourages sincerity in actions and honesty in intentions. When a believer lives with the Akhirah in mind, even small deeds gain immense value. Detachment from the dunya also brings contentment. You stop constantly comparing your life to others. You understand that provision, opportunities, and trials are distributed by divine wisdom, not random chance. This contentment protects the heart from envy and resentment. It allows you to appreciate what you have without being blinded by what you do not. At times, this shift may make you feel out of place. Conversations centered only on material gain may no longer interest you. Environments driven by ego and competition may feel heavy. This does not mean you are better than others. It simply means your heart is being drawn towards something deep. Allah often changes your inner world before changing your outer circumstances. As the Akhirah becomes more real to you, your actions begin to reflect long-term thinking. You invest in deeds that benefit others, in knowledge that increases understanding, and in character that reflects faith. You become more conscious of the impact you leave behind. This mindset is a sign of wisdom, and wisdom is a gift Allah gives to those He wishes to raise. This detachment also strengthens patience during hardship. When life is viewed through the lens of eternity, temporary pain feels manageable. You understand that this world was never meant to be perfect. Its imperfections are reminders that true rest lies elsewhere. This understanding does not erase pain, but it gives it meaning. You may also notice a greater appreciation for simple blessings, a quiet moment, a sincere prayer, a kind word. These begin to feel richer than extravagant displays of success. This gratitude brings peace to the heart, and peace is one of the greatest forms of wealth a believer can possess. My beloved brothers and sisters, when your heart begins to loosen its grip on the dunya and lean toward the akhirah, protect that shift. Do not fight it. It is Allah refining your priorities and aligning your heart with its true purpose. You are not losing the world, you are gaining clarity. And clarity is the foundation of elevation in this life and the next. There is a quiet transformation that takes place in the heart of a believer when silence becomes easier than arguing, when patience feels more natural than reacting, and when self-control replaces impulsive responses. This change often goes unnoticed by others, yet it is one of the clearest signs that Allah is elevating a person. True growth is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it appears in the way you choose restraint over reaction. In earlier stages of life, it is easy to feel the need to defend every word, to win every disagreement, and to prove every point. The ego demands validation, and the tongue becomes quick in response. But as Allah refines a heart, He teaches it the power of silence. You begin to understand that not every comment deserves an answer, and not every misunderstanding requires explanation. Silence becomes wisdom, not weakness. Patience too begins to take a different form. It is no longer just enduring difficulty. It becomes a conscious choice to trust Allah's timing. When things go wrong, you pause instead of panicking. When people disappoint you, you reflect instead of reacting. This patience does not mean you feel no pain, but it means you no longer allow pain to control your behavior. That control is a sign of strength that Allah places in hearts He wants to raise. Self-control is especially tested in moments of anger. Anger can feel justified, especially when you believe you have been wrong. Yet when Allah is elevating you, He teaches you to restrain yourself even when you are capable of respo. In Deen, you realize that power is not in retaliation but in restraint. Choosing calm over chaos protects your heart from regret and your faith from damage. As this transformation unfolds, you may notice that your reactions become more intentional. You speak after thinking. You respond after reflecting. This awareness allows you to align your actions with your values. It prevents you from being pulled into unnecessary conflict and preserves your inner peace. Allah loves those who act with wisdom, and wisdom often shows itself in controlled responses. Silence also creates space for reflection. When you stop reacting immediately, you begin to understand situations more clearly. You see the bigger picture. You recognize that people act from their own wounds and limitations. This understanding fosters compassion. Instead of anger, you feel empathy. Instead of resentment, you feel mercy. These qualities soften the heart and elevate the soul. Patience and self-control also strengthen your relationship with Allah. In moments of restraint, you are actively choosing His pleasure over your impulses. This choice is a form of worship. It may not look impressive to the world, but it holds great value in the sight of Allah. Every time you hold your tongue, control your anger, or forgive silently, you are earning a reward that only Allah can measure. There will be times when this growth feels lonely. Others may misunderstand your silence as weakness or indifference. But you know the truth. You know that your restraint is intentional, rooted in faith and guided by wisdom. Allah sees what people overlook. He knows the battles you choose not to fight and the words you choose not to say. Over time, this inner discipline brings peace. You are no longer constantly disturbed by external events or people's opinions. Your emotional stability becomes a source of strength. You respond to life rather than being controlled by it. This calm is not accidental. It is cultivated through trust in Allah and surrender to His guidance. My dear brothers and sisters, when you find yourself choosing silence over argument, patience over panic, and self-control over impulse, recognize it for what it is. Allah is refining your character. He is teaching you qualities that elevate you in His sight. Protect this growth, nurture it with remembrance and gratitude. Because a heart that is calm, patient, and controlled is a heart that Allah is leading higher. There are seasons in life when you wake up unsure of where you are heading. The clarity you once had is gone, and the confidence you relied on feels distant. You try to make sense of events, but nothing seems to fit together. You feel lost, not because you lack effort or faith, but because the path ahead is hidden. Yet despite this confusion, your heart still turns to Allah. You still whisper His name. You still trust Him, even when you do not understand Him. That trust, especially in moments of uncertainty, is a powerful sign that Allah is leading you higher. Feeling lost humbles the soul. It strips away the illusion that you are in control. When plans fall apart and certainty disappears, you are forced to confront your dependence on Allah. This dependence is not weakness, it is the essence of faith. Allah loves when His servants realize that guidance does not come from intelligence, experience, or effort alone, but from Him. When you feel lost yet still believe that Allah will guide you, your heart is being trained to rely on Him fully. In these moments, you may notice that your faith becomes quieter but deeper. You are no longer seeking dramatic signs or immediate answers. Instead, you hold on to a calm assurance that Allah knows what He is doing. This type of faith does not need constant reassurance. It is steady, patient, and resilient. It is built not on outcomes, but on trust in Allah's wisdom. When you feel lost, your dua often becomes more sincere. You stop asking Allah to fulfill specific desires and start asking Him to choose what is best. You ask for guidance, clarity, and strength rather than control. This shift is significant. It shows that your heart is learning submission. True elevation comes when a servant trusts Allah's decisions more than their own preferences. Feeling lost can also protect you from arrogance. When everything is clear and successful, it is easy to believe that you are self-sufficient. Confusion reminds you of your limits. It teaches you humility. And humility attracts divine help. Allah raises those who lower themselves before Him. When you admit that you do not know and ask Allah to guide you, you are opening the door to wisdom. There are times when feeling lost feels lonely. You may feel misunderstood by people who expect you to have answers. You may feel disconnected from environments that once felt familiar. But in that loneliness, Allah creates space for a deeper bond with Him. When distractions fade, the heart becomes more receptive. Allah draws closer to hearts that seek Him sincerely, even in silence. Trusting Allah while feeling lost requires patience. It means continuing to do what is right, even when results are unclear. It means maintaining prayer, honesty, and good character, even when life feels uncertain. This consistency is beloved to Allah. It shows that your faith is not dependent on ease or clarity. It proves that you worship Allah for who He is, not just for what He gives. Sometimes feeling lost is Allah's way of redirecting you. You may have been walking confidently towards something that was not meant for you. Allah removes clarity so you stop moving forward in the wrong direction. What feels like confusion is often protection. Allah blocks certain paths not to punish you, but to save you from harm you cannot yet see. Over time, you may realize that feeling lost softened your heart. It made you more compassionate toward others who struggle. It made you less judgmental and more understanding. Pain has a way of refining character. Allah uses uncertainty to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more empathetic. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you are feeling lost but still trusting Allah, do not despair. You are not abandoned. You are being guided in a way that requires patience and faith. The one who controls the stars also controls your path. He does not lose His servants. Continue walking, even if the road is unclear. Continue trusting, even if the destination is hidden. Because when Allah is your guide, being lost is only a step toward elevation. As we reflect on all these signs, one truth becomes clear. Allah's way of elevating His servants is often hidden within moments we least expect. It is not always through ease, applause, or visible success. Many times it is through loss, tests, tears, silence, and uncertainty. What we mistake for setbacks are often steps upward, and what we assume is distance from Allah may actually be His way of drawing us closer. When Allah removes people or comforts, He is lightening your load so you can rise. When He tests you beyond your comfort zone, He is strengthening your faith and refining your character. When your salah and dua become more sincere, He is inviting you into a deeper relationship with Him. When your heart detaches from the dunya and turns toward the Akhirah, He is realigning your priorities with what truly matters. When patience, silence, and self-control become easier, He is shaping your character in a way that elevates you in His sight. And when you feel lost yet continue to trust Him, He is teaching you complete reliance, the highest form of faith. So do not rush Allah's process. Do not judge your journey by how it looks to others. Measure it by how close it brings you to Allah, how much it softens your heart, and how firmly it anchors your trust in Him. Continue walking even when the path feels heavy. Continue praying even when answers seem delayed. Continue believing even when understanding is absent. Because Allah never lowers a servant who sincerely turns to Him. Every hardship carries wisdom, every delay carries mercy, and every test carries an invitation to rise. Hold on to Allah, trust His plan, and remember, if He is guiding you through difficulty, it is only because He is preparing you for something greater, either in this life or in the eternal life to come.